Alright guys, how you doing tonight? Nice little rainy night in Florida. Of course it's raining. Got our crate outside, so it's gonna rain, you know. Crate's under a big tarp though, so we should be good. And you know, you'd have to flood pretty deep to get up into a crate, you know, because of the bottom. So we made some paint up for the old big block here. Show you the color. Getting ready to get the block prepped here for some paint. And mixed up some, looks pretty close to Chevy orange. And made that in single stage. DBU. That's the urethane matrix single stage. Or not urethane. Yeah. No. I don't know what it is. I'm looking for my razor blade, walking in circles here. I brought a razor blade over here with me, and here it is. Cutting the paper up here, so I thought I'd turn the camera on. Sort of rainy. But I worked on the Nova today a little bit, and couple more hours of cleaning under there, and still looks dirty. So, and I know it, wish I had a rotisserie, but I don't. Would make it a lot easier. But about got it now, so he's looking pretty good. And I figured we'll get this block painted. I got her cleaned up this afternoon. Oh, big paper. And she looks pretty good. All the bearings fit nice, and we'll go ahead and paint it and assemble it. I saw the comment that Viper Mech left about the head or the threads. Threads look pretty good in this block. Hopefully that won't happen. I was just getting the silicone off from the head bolts, or head bolt sealer, whatever it had on it. I think it was head bolt sealer, not silicone. And I didn't notice any metal when I was cutting the threads, so hopefully I'll be good. I have seen that. I built the big block for a friend of mine, and we took it to the races right after we built it. And it was right after I came back from the funny car racing, and I took the motor apart, and it had copper head gaskets on it with gobs of silicone all around all the water passages, and I thought that somebody was being sloppy with the silicone, because I'd never seen that in the alcohol cars. You know, they're dry blocks, we don't have any water in them. And I put that thing back together, and we're going to put some aluminum heads on it. I put the aluminum heads on this motor. It was actually 2-bolt main 454 60 over. Car ran like 930s when we took it apart. It was in a dragster, and we were going to do these aluminum heads for it, some Snowflake GM heads, nothing special. And we had a feeling that they would go faster. They were a little, you know, nicer port work and stuff. And me and my buddy Ron popped them on, or I popped them on. Ron did all the machine work on them for me. He had a head chop. And when I went to put the intake manifold on, the heads had been angle milled so much the intake manifold wouldn't fit. And had to have the car in the trailer the next morning to go to a car show. So I was running out of time. It was about 11 o'clock at night, and I called Ron up. He offered to go open the shop up and cut the manifold to match the cylinder heads. And we put the manifold up in the CBM cutter, and he was going to cut it both ways. And he made the first pass on it, and it was cutting really nice. But when he went to go backwards, chucked up the caught the manifold, the blade did, and it spit the manifold out of the chuck and broke the CBN cutter. So we had to scrap the aluminum head idea, and we went back to the cast iron heads, valve jobbed them, and took them back home. Got the car done about 5 o'clock in the morning, and got it in the trailer. And I didn't put the silicone on the gaskets because I thought that wasn't the way to do it, you know. And we got to the car show, and I went to pull the car out of the trailer, or the dragster. And when I walked up to it, there was water dripping out between the cylinder head and the block. And I was like, oh, not going to be a good day. So we did the car show, and even fired the car up, and seemed to stop. Thought that retorquing the heads and running the motor was going to fix it for some reason. And we got to the track the next day, and we made a pass on with 806 out of the trailer. Fastest it had ever been was 930, and it was just screaming, way too many RPM. It had a 430 gear in it, so we brought it back, and the heads were leaking really bad. It had milkshake oil, and so I pulled the heads off, and all the threads started coming out of the block, just like Vipermech was talking about. So Ron went and bought every Healy coil he could find in Gainesville, and it was a Super Chevy race. And of course, you know, we thought the gaskets were bad, so I was trying to find some copper head gaskets in the swap meet. Couldn't find any. I'm telling them the Seminole Wind story. So we finally found some head gaskets. Lee Trevino, he's got a wheel stand truck. He told me to come over to his trailer and he'd give me some gaskets, and I went over there, and he handed me the copper head gaskets. And he's got a really nice operation. He's a pretty sharp guy. And as he handed me the gaskets, he asked me if I had silicone for the water jackets. And I was like, oh, supposed to put silicone on this? So we ended up getting it back together, and we had a guy, John Teal, driving the car, mailman, black sock guy. Remember him?
Men should not wear black socks with shorts.
He wanted to know everything about the motor, you know, the whole way there. What are the clearances set out? What's this? What's that? I said, man, we hired you to drive the car, not work on it. And he was an excellent driver though, man. He could set the box, and he was very consistent, and we ran out of funds on that car. But we ended up taking the gear out of it, and it ran just as fast. It was an 8.0 car. But I don't know how long that motor was going to last, because it was just a 2-bolt main, pretty basic motor with a good set of heads. But yeah, I have seen the studs come off. Remember we had to go get all those Healy coil studs, and that was a fun weekend, wasn't it? The good old days. We don't race much anymore, but we used to a lot.
Speaking of racing, Noel called you last weekend. So
I'm going to call Noel. I got to call Noel back today. And I forgot. We're going racing next weekend.
This week, coming weekend.
This weekend. Volkswagen though, not a Chevrolet. The Seminole Wind car, I fell into that job when I came back from alcohol racing. It was sponsored by Parts Plus, and they asked me if I'd work on the car.
And Wix filters.
And Wix filters, yeah. And these guys were a couple of, I don't think they got internet. They were sort of Gomer Piles, you know. They bought this car and fallen into the trailer, and it's a nice chaparral trailer. And Wix and Parts Plus would give those guys whatever they want. You just call up and order whatever you want. Speed Pro, anything they sell. And we built all kinds of motors for that car. It had a Madcap racing engine, and it was a Hadman chassis. It was an old top fuel car. So the car worked really good, and it was super light, super cool car. The old days. Hopefully this motor doesn't give me any of those problems, you know. It just is happy. This is just a basic engine, so I don't expect any trouble with this. Hopefully it's just going to run really good and give me good service. Got a little nitrous we're going to spray it with. I might buy some head studs. And a good set of cosmetic gaskets. Something decent. And we should be fine. It's going to be a relatively small kit. I think I got 125 pills for it, so that should be pretty small, not hurt the engine. All right. Oh, it's looking like a car. Keep that paper nice and tight. It's a little damp today, boys. A little rainy. Hope this tape sticks. So, not a lot of videos. You guys need to push that record button. Everybody must be working. Got Christmas coming up. I know how it is, guys. You got people injured, and seems like you guys made a big difference with Anthony. All the well wishes and stuff, really cool. Always cool to see you guys step up when somebody's not doing good in the garage. I think it means a lot more to people than people realize. So some people like that, and some people don't like support, you know. I understand both kinds. You know, I don't have a lot of family, so you guys were there when my stepdad died. And, you know, probably made it easier for me. So, you know, we all deal with stuff differently. Alright, let me get a piece of paper. The cats are holding this down for me. I should be able to do something with that. It's not the prettiest piece, but so we're going to use a little spray bomb edge primer. I don't usually like to use spray bomb products, but I figure for this engine it'll be okay. And I don't have any on the shelf right now, so I didn't want to buy it just to paint this motor. I've lost my razor blade again. You guys are probably laughing your ass off. You know exactly where it's at. There it is. You guys do that, or am I the only one that loses shit right in front of your face? Set it down and it disappears, or you crawl under a car and do shop gnomes come steal your tools? They do that to me. I'll be working on something and no tools. So anyway, hopefully this, I'm sure it'll turn out good. I've painted a lot of motors with the car paint. Never had an issue with it. Doesn't say high heat, but I've never had any problem with paint coming off, and it makes it look really nice. And this block we deburred a little bit on the outside. You know, I took some of the casting flashes off of it. And I'd already done that before it was sitting back there. And did the lifter valley, smoothed it out. And yeah, that's about it. You know, but car paint stays down a lot better if you smooth the block out a little bit. Take some of that texture out, you know. We did that. So, should be in good shape. I don't think I'm going to try to paint this tonight because of this rain, man. There we go. I want to paint the deck. I didn't want to paint the deck and then have to grind it off with a grinder. It's not the best looking deck surface, but it's pretty flat, I think. This motor's, the machine work was pretty decent at one time. It was a stock motor that had been blueprinted. And so in 1972, the story goes that somebody bought a brand new Corvette and took this motor to Dennis Boyd, and he went through it. So I don't know. It's sitting on the floor in his shop, and he gave it to me for my truck. And when I put it in the truck, it always had a little rumpity rump to it. And I never checked the camshaft or anything that was in it. I did save it. It's not a real high lift cam, but it is a pretty powerful cam. This motor was in a 21-foot box truck, and it'd pull anything, man. And he'd pull in, and it'd be like dun 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 dun. I used to have people try to buy the motor all the time from me. Hey, you want to sell that motor? No, I want to get home. And even had some fun with this motor. I had it in that box truck, and we were coming back from Fort Pierce one night. We were go-kart racing, and well, here's the razor blade over here. You guys were holding it. We had been go-kart racing. It was super late, and Andrea can vouch for this one. I threw a cup of coffee on her windshield. She was real happy that night. But we were coming back from Fort Pierce, and the oil pickup fell off the motor. I think Verado did a thing on oil pump pickups falling off, and it broke the bracket. It wasn't welded, and you know, welding's no guarantee anyway, because sometimes that breaks. But check out Verado. I think that's how you pronounce it. He's one of Viper Mech's buddies. He's from Canada, and he does some really cool technical videos. And he just did one on oil pumps for big blocks and how they break and fail. But anywho, the pickup came off of this motor, and my buddy Greg, he was all worried, you know, and I said, man, we gotta keep driving it. I can't get it towed. So we stopped, and we put, I think we put like 15 quarts of oil in it, so the crank would be splashing around in the oil. But the cam wasn't getting lubed other than what was splashing on it. And it never gave the cam a problem. But any hoozle, we filled it up with oil, and it had no oil pressure, and it had a manual gauge in it. And at first, when the pump was when it was breaking and the pickup was falling off, it kept fluctuating, you know. And Greg's like, it's spinning the bearing, it's spinning. I'm like, no, it's not spinning the bearing, it's running too good. And finally he kept on, he wouldn't shut up, so I reached down and pulled the light out of the gauge so he couldn't see it. And finally he got a little, you know, relaxed a little bit. But it was a long ride home that night. And really not a lot of damage done to the motor. I did have the rods resized this time, but the crank just got polished. Anyway, we'll have some parts for this maybe tomorrow or the next day. Freeze plugs and some rings. Oh man, that was a good one. So I don't know, we got enough etch primer here. We're just going to dust it with a little of this Rattle Bomb etch primer. Just a dab will do you. That's the good stuff there, boy. This stuff stinks. I saw where Chef Tush bought some of this stuff. And I don't ever recommend this product even though we sell it. Put on your car unless you're doing a very small spot. Because we talked about it. You know, the real product is sold and it has a plastic bottle. It's a two-part product. You got the activator, what is what they call it. This is actually the acid of the two components. This is a corrosion protection actually, and that's why this product works being transparent. You know, you don't need a coverage. All you need is 0.8 of a mil, and you'll be able to see through that most of the time. You're basically wetting the metal, and this is reacting with the steel. When you have a spray can, you can't have this in it because it would eat the can. That's why they put it in a plastic bottle, not a metal bottle. PPG used to have theirs. Diamond used to be in a glass jar, glass bottle. I don't know if it is now. I know a lot of the new primers have the corrosion protection in them. We do have one of those now that I've been using. But so that's why I don't recommend the Spray Bomb etch primer. You know, if you really actually need it for an etch, I don't know if it's truly an etch. You know, obviously it can't be the same two-part component that you get when you buy it in quart form, because you're not mixing two components. You know, you're spraying it out of a spray bomb, so there's not two components, it's one. And I do know that U-POL, which is a product, they do make some clear coats, and they make some urethane primers that you have to activate the can. You know, the can's actually two components. You shake the can, or there's a little thing in the bottom that you pull, and it mixes the two components together, and then you have a true two-part spray bomb. This isn't that way though, so I don't ever try to sell it as something it's not. I saw Chef Tush, sorry Chef, he was going to put it on his car, and that's why I recommend if you're going to use it, you know, at least get the stuff that's real etch primer. So, or use you know, use an epoxy that's made to go over bare steel. That's a good example of why we have paint failures right there. I mean, you know, it wasn't my idea to use the etch. You know, it says right in the manual that I give all you guys that use Matrix that you're supposed to use the etch with their, you know, with their DP or with their epoxy. So now, like I said, they do have that direct metal primer that I've been using, but if you want to follow the directions to the T, then it does say in the book that you should use either the 600 or the 550 before you lay your epoxy down. But the paint store that he went to sold it to him and didn't tell him that, you know. Just another example of selling a product that you don't know how it works. And you know, screw you with a smile. You know, when that blows up on you, when you epoxy your whole car and you use a spray bomb to do your etch, and you'd be in some serious trouble. So, you know, I try to, if I see something that's a total disaster that's going to happen, I try to let you guys know, just because I've been down the road. You know, I'm one of those painters that learn from experience. I wasn't good when I started, and some people think I'm not good now, you know, but I have come a long way, and I've seen a lot of stuff. You know, I've talked about that in the past. There's the guy that picks the gun up, and he's just a phenomenal painter. And he has no idea what we're talking about right now, because if you do it right, you know, you never have an issue. However, I was lucky enough to work for shops that didn't like to do it right, you know, and they mixed materials, and they were cheap, and they were doing rental cars, and I learned every mistake that could possibly happen. So I've seen a lot of stuff, and I think that's where a lot of the knowledge comes from seeing the failures. So plus we sell paint, so I do see some stuff, you know. I don't actually work for Matrix, you know. Andrea owns the distributorship, and if she has a customer that has an issue, you know, I'll go look at it, you know, if they want some help. And just recently we had a customer that painted a car with a competitor's paint. It's actually a company that makes knockoffs of Matrix, and they come in and they'll sell you their toners for our machine, and they sell the binders, and they sell their clear and their primers and stuff. And this particular shop likes to mix it. They have one of our mixing systems, and they use some of our toners, and they use predominantly the other shop's primer, fillers, and all that stuff. And they did an Eleanor Mustang, beautiful car, beautiful paint job, and it's been gone for a month, and it came back, and it's all busting up, crawling around, all the primers moving, scratches, and all kinds of crazy stuff. So it's just not worth it, you know. It's just, that's why I always tell everybody to stay with the system. So if you do have a failure, you've got a, you know, an avenue to get it fixed. So there we go. I got to do a little sanding. Hans got those mounts off for me. I don't know if I showed you guys that. And the drive shaft leaps out, all that crap. We're getting it a little more cleaned up. I haven't really tried to beat the shit out of it here yet. It's pretty stout. It's pretty bent up. So I might just leave it like that. You know, I don't want to make it too nice, because then somebody will want to buy it and I won't have it anymore. And that's the bad part about finishing all these cars, you know, that our wives want to sell them. So, you know, I think that's why I don't finish stuff. You know, I know that if it's not running, you know, nobody wants it. So seems like as soon as I get them running and I can drive them, you know, it's not long after that they seem to disappear. You know, we got the big truck, it's gone. My Mustang's gone. My 56 Beetle's gone. What else? Seems like every time I get something finished, it's sold. So this won't be sold though. This is a family token here, and we're gonna keep it. Andrea had to give me this car because she crashed my first car. So this car was built out of pieces of my old one and pieces of the new one. So it's got a little experience for sure. So, got my Saskatchewan license plate up there. Very cool. Mr. Taylor, Claire, Jay, family, thank you. And yeah, sort of muggy. Probably gonna go in, upload this. Oh yeah, it's about 130% humidity at 70 degrees. Miserable. So we'll probably not try to paint that orange paint tonight, because I think it would probably blemish, you know, turn white. It's not too much moisture in the shop, and I'm not going to fire the heater up to try to pull the moisture out. I've noticed, I don't know if you guys have, that when I use my propane heater, it seems to spike up the humidity in the building back there, unless I get it super hot. So I don't know if you guys have run into that before. Anyway, that's about it. We're gonna wrap it up. It's been nice hanging out with you guys, and we'll bring you back along tomorrow or the next day. You know, I'll make some more video on this. Like I said, I have some stuff I might just put together to some music or something. There's our crank it's all polished up, and man, that was perfectly straight. I mean, no run out at all from one end to the other. And that's pretty unusual, but it is a steel piece, so it's pretty nice. Just a 2-bolt main though, it's nothing special, but it's a big block, so it'll have the cool factor. Alright guys, I'm gonna go order some parts, I guess. I never got that cam today. Apparently it's a real bitch when you don't have a speed shop in your town. We really had to drive to Orlando to get parts, so I think I'm just gonna go to Competition Products tonight and give them a call and order some stuff up. Alright, let's turn this off, and you guys have a safe one. We'll talk to you later. It's a long ass video, sorry about that. Got the yakking, and we'll see you later.